Hello everyone, welcome back to Talking Ted Lasso here on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. Of course, subscribe and ding your notification bell on this channel for what is, at the moment, our penultimate episode of Talking Ted Lasso, Janine. There is
Yes.
only 2 more episodes of Season 3 after talking about what we are talking about today. Obviously, we're not quite sure when Season 4 is going to come out at this point,
Yeah.
currently being filmed, I
Filmed, yeah.
believe. Very much in production. Just don't think we have a release date. Of course, we'll be back with Talking Ted Lasso when Season 4 does drop, but it'll be quite sad next week to finish Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, that's the nature, I think, of Morgan Hasn't Seen TV. It takes that little bit of time, you sit with it for some time, and
Mhm.
when it's over, it feels like there's a gap to fill. Now, of
Yeah,
course, that gap will be filled with something
it
rather
will.
exciting, which we will be getting onto. But for the time being, we have another 2 really wonderful episodes, I think, here of a very, very consistently strong season, I think,
Yeah.
as well, of Ted Lasso. Possibly the most, like, consistent, great episode after great episode um, that the show has had. Yes, that's only
Yeah.
3 seasons, but I would go as far as to say that across the board at this point, season 3 is probably the strongest consistency wise, and I'm led to believe the final 2 episodes don't disappoint in that regard either. Um, with what may or may not happen in those episodes. But to start us off, we have a storyline I've been waiting to see
Yes.
the climax of,
Yeah.
which I was very happy to, and I was very happy with kind of how it played out, because it's the vastly predominant focus of this first episode we're talking about today, which is episode 9 of season 3, called Locker Room Aux Folles, which clearly is a play on Le Cage aux Folles, or the bird cage. If we all love that Robin Williams, Nathan Lane movie, The
Yes.
Birdcage. Very
Yes.
good movie. And that's because it's about gay people, this episode, Janine. It's nothing but gay people and nothing but talking about being gay.
Yes, I mean, I appreciated that this was, as you said, a storyline that you were really excited to see a resolution to. So I appreciate that Colin not being kind of a focus character, them really making this episode mostly about his story and
Yeah,
not just kind of making it a small piece of a bigger story. Because I definitely think it was an interesting thing, especially with what you talked about, kind of bringing to light that it is kind of a very true to life situation, that um, there aren't gay players that are outly, outward, presenting that they're gay in
yeah,
actual football. So, the fact that that's kind of touching on a real thing, I really appreciated that they gave Colin kind of the bulk of this episode to really resolve that story, because I think it was a really compelling storyline. We really cared about him. We're really sad that he felt like he couldn't um share with his team. So it was really kind of this buildup to see how they would react to it, if he would ever feel comfortable telling them. So I'm kind of hoping, you're happy with how that story kind of tied up and developed. And I'm glad that we got to see, mostly that in this episode.
definitely. I mean, we'll get into some of the details, but broadly speaking, I mean, it made me realize that maybe I'd been a bit too harsh in the past in talking about, the real world
Yeah.
picture when it comes to gay players. Because, no, as I said, I can't tell you any publicly gay major football players,
Yeah.
or top tier football players. But this episode made me realize, and for some reason it took this episode to make me realize that there's far more likely to be out to the team football players than there
Yeah,
is publicly
out to the public. Yeah,
publicly out football players. Like, this is probably actually what has happened to
yeah,
the gay with the any non-hetero football players out
yeah,
there.
yeah.
And it's just a bit more believable, I suppose, for it
Yeah.
to be like this. And the fact we deal with it in that way of Colin not needing everybody in the world to know, everybody in the country to know, but just needing those important to him, those closest to him to
Closest to
be
him.
there.
Yeah.
And the details, they don't force him into outing himself, but they certainly push him into coming out.
Yeah. Yes,
I don't
and
think it ever feels like something he doesn't want to do, which is important, certainly to the
yeah.
team, but it does also feel like something that I think he would have been fairly content. I don't know for how long, but I think he would have stayed fairly content having not done. But then we see it kind of immediately improves his ability on the pitch as well. So clearly it's kind of for the
Yeah.
best.
Something that was holding him back. And I love the reveal of kind of the true meaning behind Isaac's reaction, because they don't tell us right away. We just see, Isaac found out, he kind of walks away. So now we're kind of wondering how the dynamic's going to be, and Isaac's ignoring Colin. Um so the whole episode, there's kind of this distance between the two of them. Isaac, even when they put their all hands in, Isaac moves his hand off of Collins and things like that.
Yeah.
So I love that the episode kind of builds up the read of what about this is pissing off Isaac, and then when we learn it's what it's actually about. I liked kind of how they developed that, to kind of add more
Yeah.
interest to that episode. I also loved the framing of the term, I don't care, when it comes to something about somebody you care about.
Yes. Ted
And
has a
and kind of
nice little speech on this.
yeah,
You would expect.
because when he does reveal it to the team, and they all say, "We don't care. We don't care that you're gay. It doesn't bother." In the meaning of saying it doesn't bother us. But when
Yeah.
you say we don't care, Ted kind of tells this story and talks about, no, like, we do care. We care that this is who you are. We care that that's what is important to you. So, um, yeah, I because you don't really think about it like that. When you say you don't care, that's usually seen as a good thing. But I like that kind of a reframing of, yes, you do care that your friend's gay because that is who they are and you care about who they are. So
Yeah.
that was kind of an
Well,
interesting
Ted,
way of putting it that you don't really think about. And of course, Ted, brings us to that point in his very Ted way. So
right, in an incredibly Ted way, in a shockingly poignant yet also utterly ridiculous kind of way of
yes,
likening
which
being gay to being a fan of the Denver Broncos football team,
yes,
which
and they do rightly call him out for that
they do.
comparison. And he's like, "Yeah,
But
fine on again."
his point and his
Yeah,
meaning
still
is the
stands
important thing,
true.
and his point and his meaning is what 100% still stands true and still makes such clear sense. Because I do think, we can. I don't care is quite a negative phrase, and we often use it in quite a positive way to say things don't bother me. And that doesn't bother
Yeah,
me is a much more accurate way of saying this version of I
yeah,
don't care. Um,
yeah, or like,
I
"I'm
think
okay with it." Yeah,
oh, I'm okay with it or something like that. Um, if everybody would have just turned around and said, yeah, it doesn't bother us, absolutely
yeah,
fine, absolutely great.
yeah,
That just gives off the energy of much more positivity than, yeah, we don't care.
yeah,
It's a significant difference that
yeah,
none of us ever think about. And yes, you are right in saying to draw attention to it. This episode draws attention to that. And that's a very, very kind of important thing. It's an important thing to keep in our minds, I think, when we're perhaps dealing with these things in our own lives,
Yeah.
with those people around us. That's always been a great thing that Ted Lasso has seemed to do, is
Yeah.
give us, the viewer, tools, almost societal tools,
Yeah.
interpersonal tools to use in our own lives with those around us in whatever situation, similar to the situations we've seen obviously play out in the show, may
Yeah.
happen to us or surrounding us in our own lives. And it's so consistently great at doing that. And Colin feels really, really good after doing this. But I say he is pushed into it because of Isaac's reaction to this whole situation. Now,
Yes.
the way this plays out is fascinating to me, because at 100%, I thought this was, and I don't know why I thought this, because I know, the character of Isaac, and yes, this episode probably gives us the most emotional depth, truly, we've ever got from Isaac. But the
Yeah.
character has clearly been this brick wall of a man who
Yeah.
has a soft heart,
Yeah.
and that is what he is. So why I was immediately thinking, oh god, this is going to turn really dark. What if Isaac genuinely has an issue with this for some potential past trauma situation, whether
Yeah. Or just where he's grown
he
up,
had
how
some
he's
sort
grown
of
up.
issue
Mhm.
in his past, somebody left, him because of being gay or whatever it may have been. I was going through all these
Yeah.
potential hypotheticals in my mind. Um, and Isaac is genuinely going to have a problem with Colin being gay here. This is going to be genuine, and
Yeah.
this is the storyline that's going to have to then be gotten over. It's much more simplistic than that, but it's
Yeah.
also kind of much more, I don't know. You say you kind of like Isaac's reasoning of it just being, basically, he's offended's the wrong word, but he's upset
He's
to a
hurt.
degree. He's hurt to a degree because Colin, or because he feels Colin doesn't see him
Couldn't tell
as
him
a good
something.
friend because he didn't tell him this important thing about his
Y
life, which
Yes.
to my mind is understandable, because yeah, okay, you would be hurt that somebody you see as your friend, you, in this context, maybe
Mhm.
don't think that they see you as close a friend. But I'm there, I'm also there thinking, like, I understand that viewpoint, and that's clearly Isaac's viewpoint, but I'm also there thinking, that's a really selfish way of thinking about it, surely, isn't it? Because this ain't about you, Isaac. This
Yeah.
ain't about you. So how are you not realizing this isn't about you? And how does it take you a bit too
Yes.
long to realize it's not actually about you? Do you understand what I'm saying there?
Yeah, no, I totally get that, and I think they do say a few lines that establish that they're kind of been friends for a long time, like, they came up together, so, childhood longtime friends, so they are probably, like, the actual best friends on the team,
Yeah.
so I can understand from the standpoint of somebody who considers themselves a good friend, that you might be hurt that someone who, you think you've been a good friend to, you think you're a good listener, that you know, like, you would read something. Yeah, I get what you're saying about selfish, but, like, what does it say about me that you didn't feel like you could trust me with something like this? That you felt like I would judge you for something like this? So I think that's kind of where he's coming from. He's
No,
offended that, you didn't wanna use the word offended, but I get kind of, I think that kind of fits in the way Isaac is feeling. He feels somewhat hurt and offended that his friend didn't trust him with this information. He didn't feel like he could tell him that. So Isaac is saying, what must he really think of me if he thinks I would judge him for this? That's kind of what is built up, I think, in Isaac and why he feels that way.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And this is what I'm saying. I understand that way of thinking, but it's just not something I particularly have. It's not something I can have that experience of in my own life, for example. My brain doesn't work that way, so I can't quite I can't quite compute it. Do you know what I mean? I can
Yeah.
understand somebody
Mhm.
else thinking that way, but I
Yeah.
can't compute it in my own mind. So I am, no matter what, constantly sat there going, it ain't about you. It isn't about you. It just isn't about you. This is his
Yeah,
deal to deal
but I
with
mean
himself. And I understand that you think you're close, and I understand that you are close, and I understand that this has been a big friendship for you. Of course it has. But you know, I mean, maybe this is an issue with me, and this is the great thing that Ted Lasso can do is make you think about your own life, isn't it? But
yeah.
ultimately, I can ask myself, do I care enough about my own friends? And this is me asking me this question because would I care this much if somebody didn't tell me something like this? Maybe not, because it's their deal. Like,
Yeah.
if somebody wants to tell me something, I feel like they would do it. Like,
Yeah.
and if somebody doesn't want to tell me something, I'm not particularly bothered by that. And maybe that makes me a bad person. I don't know.
No,
Maybe
no,
that makes me
no.
a
I
non
think
a
everybody's
non-caring
different.
person.
I
No, I'm
Yeah.
hypothesizing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it necessarily does. I'm
Yeah. It just has you
philosophizing.
think about that. Yeah.
It has me think about that. But I would liken that to, again, as we say, not being bothered who anybody is, because
Mhm.
person to person, I get on with somebody because of who they are, not because of their anything about them, because of the
Yeah.
type of person they are, not because they're gay or not, or they're whatever they are. You know, that is totally irrelevant
Yeah.
to me liking somebody, or being a friend to somebody. So I personally think about it in that way. It's kind of why I wanted to see, and I've been a little bit focused on this particular
Yeah.
storyline, because I found it a really fascinating thing to discuss in the world of football, because as I've said in a couple of past episodes now, football is inherently very, very homophobic as an institution.
Yeah.
Um, and you can have all your rainbow laces campaigns you want, it doesn't stop fans like we see in this episode, um, shouting slurs out in the middle of
Yeah.
game. It doesn't stop that. And Isaac's reaction to that in the game itself, obviously his reaction to Colin's error as well in the game is
Yeah.
pretty harsh. And this is when I
Oh,
was
yeah.
really thinking like, okay,
Oh, this is
there's
something.
a problem here.
Yeah, there's some kind of
Um,
deeper thing going on as to why he's reacting like this to Colin. But then immediately after, when we see him react to that fan going up in the
yeah,
stands to almost fight them because they
that's when I
used a
realized.
homophobic slur, then
Yeah,
you
that's
realize
when I realized it's different.
it's a friendship issue. He's hurt that like his friend did not trust him enough in his mind to tell him,
Yeah,
what he was
or
feeling.
there was a part of me that was that was also thinking, and they kind of half tease you with going this way as
Yeah.
well, of what if Isaac's actually gay? And he's
Yeah.
kind of upset that there's another gay person on the team who they've not clocked each other. And it's kind of like, well, am I a good gay person? Like, what's all this about? And I got this impression when
Oh,
he does go
okay.
up to the fan, and calls the fan, what very, very aggressively.
Yeah.
What are you saying? What did you call me? Say it again. Come on. Yeah. And yes, you can have all your little cutaways to Jeff Stelling and the past Richmond manager, the
Yeah.
ridiculous man on Soccer Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, say you don't fight fans, you don't go up to fans. And no, as a general rule, you don't fight fans. But I can tell you, there's one very famous instance of a football player fighting a fan,
Oh,
um, uh, because of it's very, very. horrific abuse,
Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
abuse, to do with race, to do with nationality, to do with his mother, and things
Mhm.
like this. Very, very violent. It's to do with United. Eric Cantona in 1996. Um, Kung Fu kick to Crystal Palace fan after being sent off.
Oh my
Um,
god.
who this Palace fan had sprinted down the terrace to just hurl abuse at Eric Cantona. He had a months long ban because of it.
Wow.
Um, it was like when I say kung fu kick, I mean Eric Cantona turned into Bruce Lee at this point and literally leapt over the advertising board to just pound his studs into this guy's
Oh
chest.
my gosh.
Um,
Wow.
but it was through legitimate abuse, and
Mhm.
has since brought up these conversations of what is the right of the fan, and
Yeah,
to an
which they get
extent
into a little bit too in the
they
locker room
do.
when they go in there, and
Yeah,
Isaac kind of has this big rant about that, about what the fan said and that it's wrong and, that the fans shouldn't treat them that way and this whole kind of
yeah.
thing he goes off on. Yeah, he gets really angry.
I've always put it down to it is the right of the fan to be upset. It is the right of the fan to
Mhm.
criticize. It is the right of the fan to. I've got a funny feeling towards booing your own team. I don't like booing your own
Yeah.
team. I'd never like doing that. People, I've been going to Old Trafford to watch United for God, you know, over 20 years at this point. Um, I've never booed, and even when several thousand people in that stadium, many, many thousands of people in that stadium have booed certain times, I have never ever booed. I'm quite personally proud of that because I think it's a bit of an important stance to have. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's just a very negative thing to be doing. So, but you can criticize. I've certainly hurled my fair share of abuse on on the way people are playing, but
Yeah.
it's never got personal.
Yes.
It's never got
A
kind of
personal
you're a
insult.
disgrace of a human being or anything like
Yes,
that.
which is what this fan ultimately kind of went there, and it set him
Yeah.
off, especially kind of what was happening, amongst the team. So, yeah, when
Because
Isaac
people
kind of goes
do
on
that.
this rant.
People 100%
Mhm.
do this sort of stuff. You're useless. You're complete where you don't deserve to breathe. You're a waste
Yeah.
of oxygen and all this kind of stuff. It's like, no. Say, if they're not doing great or if they're doing actively bad, absolutely shout at them. You're awful. What you're doing. This is ridiculous. Sort your life out and things like that. But it's that line of getting personal that's the issue. Um, and that's the right of the fan. The right of the fan is to go up to that line,
Yeah.
but never cross it. And when you
Yes.
do cross it, you do deserve to be banned from the stadium and kicked out, like this
Like that
particular
guy
fan who
was.
fights Isaac ends up doing.
Mhm. Yeah. So, Isaac, like, when he starts going off on this rant in the locker room, he says something about, I didn't like him saying that because what if one of us is gay? And
Yeah, which
storms
again
off.
made me think about if that was Isaac.
Yes. So then the team's just kinda sitting around thinking, "Oh, maybe he got so upset because he's gay." And
Yeah,
then they kind of are talking about how it wouldn't bother them and it's not a big deal and this whole kind of thing. So once they kind of hear this and they're speculating, that's what has Colin ultimately stand
yeah,
up and say, "It's me." And their reaction is very kind of like, "Oh, okay, okay, man." Like they're not, making a big deal. They're not, freaking out. And so it's really nice to to see him get this off his chest and breathe easy. You kind of see this ease in him when they have this very welcoming, loving reaction.
Yeah.
But then it does bring up the I don't care kind of commentary, and then Ted
Yeah.
kind of helps them reform that whole concept, which I think is a really cool thing.
Colin
And
goes back out and gives a storming performance in the second half
yeah, because
to
they were
come back and win.
behind. And so, yeah, he's kind of ends up being the star for the second half, winning them the game, and it just kind of speaks to, having this weight off his shoulders, kind of releasing him. I also love that, when he is feeling earlier in the episode, Isaac kind of icing him out and being cold to him, he goes and talks to Trent and gets
Yes.
that advice from him, and Trent kind of is like, you have to just give him time to process this. So I like that he felt like he could go to him and kind of talk to him about it. But yeah, ultimately, Isaac shows up at his house and he apologizes and explains why he was upset. And to your point, Colin does explain to him, it wasn't about not being able to tell you. I couldn't tell anybody. I didn't
Yeah.
feel comfortable telling anybody. So it had nothing to do with how I view you as a friend or my trust in you. I just didn't feel comfortable enough to tell anybody. So
Yeah.
once he explains that to Isaac, it makes sense to him because it's just an angle that he never thought about. So he immediately kind of understands
He
why he
does.
didn't tell
He
him.
does.
And then it kind of becomes this kind of cute thing where he's asking him all these silly questions like how do you handle the showers, because I know if I was in a shower with a bunch of girls, I'd probably get a boner. I think
But
he says
Colin has to
he
literally tell him, like, I just
I
keep
just
my
look
head down and
down and think
focus on
about.
myself.
Yeah, he thinks I think about taxes or something. Like he said, like paying taxes or doing my taxes or something. He asked him like who he has a crush on the team, and he's like, "You never
Yeah.
guess," and he immediately guesses that it's Bumper Catch.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is kind of cute.
Yeah.
Little
But he kind
final
of asks him these like little breakdown questions, and he said he's genuinely interesting because he does care. So
Yeah,
and he's
he
like, "I
does.
love you," and like Isaac doesn't say anything, and he's like, "You can't say it, can you?" He's like, "Yeah, but I do, right?" So it's like it's really sweet. Yeah.
It is. It's very sweet, and it's something for Isaac to process
Yeah.
because he just needs to get over the fact that it wasn't about him, and he
Yeah.
seems to fairly quickly. But whether it's 100% yet, I don't know. I don't think we'll get any more
Yeah.
of this whole storyline. I think this is the end of this storyline.
Yeah, with 2
Really,
episodes
Colin's
left,
Colin's
yeah.
just now going to be a gay character in the show again, another one,
Yeah. Yeah.
alongside Trent, I
Right.
guess, and
Grim. Yeah.
Colin's boyfriend if he's still around.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not going to be thought of anymore. But a really
Mhm.
great storyline, and I know we spent the vast majority of the time talking about this one episode on this storyline, but that's pretty much because 85% of this episode is
Was
dedicated
that.
to this one
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, I mean, we get a little bit with Nate. He finally introduces his girlfriend Jade to Rupert. And,
Yes,
Rupert seems kind of like dismissive about the relationship or even the fact that Nate has a girlfriend. He's really excited to introduce her to Rupert, but Rupert doesn't seem very kind of enthusiastic about it. And so
he's
he
very
does.
much literally. Rebecca refers to Rupert as the devil for a reason. I mean, this man is
Yeah.
just very,
Awful.
very awful as a human being. He is
Yeah.
almost cartoonishly bad as a human, I think, Rupert, which is kind of hilarious if it
Yeah.
wasn't somewhat dangerous for the whole world of the show.
Yeah, but all honestly, it was kind of nice as we will get into the next episode, seeing kind of this interesting dynamic between him and Rebecca. Like we actually got to see glimmers of why she fell in love with him and how they maybe worked for as long as they did in the next episode, which is really
Yeah,
interesting energy. But yeah, he kind of devalues Nate's girlfriend in the sense that he invites Nate to a guys' night. So he goes to this guys' night. He's really excited. He thinks it's just going to be him and Rupert hanging out. Obviously, he's been really kind of deprived of his male friendships after leaving Richmond. And so he's excited and he goes out, and immediately Rupert's like, "Hey, we're going to be hanging out with these two girls in this private room."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I thought it was just gonna be you and me." And Rupert just kinda looks at him like, "Are you dumb?" kinda thing. And so the fact that Rupert completely just dismisses the fact that he has a girlfriend, he doesn't care, he's trying to make Nate more like him. Nate is incredibly uncomfortable, so he immediately just goes to Jade's house and just, gives her a hug.
Yeah.
And I think, that really shakes him to the point where we learn in the next episode that he is no longer a part of that team. So,
Yeah, it's wild actually that. I mean,
yeah.
way to just quickly, and I know we've been slowly getting there, but
Yeah.
way for us to quickly get back on Nate's side,
Yeah.
and to fully humanize him again. He realizes his mistake leaving Richmond now. He
Mhm.
does. We understand that. But
Yeah.
he also now realizes just how bad a guy Rupert is, and he always kind of looked up to Rupert. He
Yeah.
always thought Rupert was, Rupert used to own Richmond while he was kitman there. So
Mhm.
he would have really idolized this guy, but in getting to know him a little bit more personally and a little bit more closer, you can see all the real badness, just
Yeah.
real dark, sticky, horrific gooiness within Rupert.
Yeah.
That there's no angels singing choral music around him.
No,
It's,
definitely not. Yeah.
it's really it's really bad, and I like that. I mean, Jade's given Nate that more semblance of positive humanity as
Yeah.
well
Mhm.
for us. Um, I like that we are turning back around on Nate because we really liked Nate for like 1.5 seasons.
Yeah. We had a lot of time of seeing him kind of grow and change and people support him when he didn't have that support, and then just let kind of a dumb assumption kind
Yeah,
of get into his head and this ego kind of get into his head. And, I think his father kind of addresses a little bit about the difficulty of raising a son like him in the next episode as well, which I think maybe
yeah,
plays into why, he took, the perceived grievance of Ted the way he did.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. Because
yes.
Ted became somewhat of a father figure to Nate, didn't he? And
Mhm.
he's not had a great track record with father figures, Nate, really.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
his own father, I mean, we do talk about it.
Yeah.
We do
In
get
the
into this
next
in the next
episode.
episode. But if you also consider Rupert a father figure to Nate, he's a really it's a negative track record. And I think
Yes.
Nate's father cares for him, yes, but Nate's father didn't know how to deal with it. Nate's
Yes.
father didn't know how to deal with him. Like there's not active, villainy there.
Yeah,
Let's
no,
be
it's
honest.
very much like I didn't know how to raise a son who was a genius, so I kind of just had to maybe make him feel like he wasn't a genius so he could be on
To
a
try and
level.
humble him. Yeah, to try and
Yes.
humble him. And
Yeah,
humility's a good thing. Yes,
yeah.
humility's a great thing. More people need humility. I always say that.
Yeah,
I
but it
really
was
do
all
think that's true.
humility and no encouragement. So,
Exactly. But
yeah.
you do actually need some,
Semblance.
positive
Yes,
reinforcement as well.
exactly, and he was getting none of that. So, yeah, it was just really interesting to see how much this situation with Rupert kind of shook him,
Yeah.
to kind of affect the decision he makes in the next episode. And then I think kind of the last big thing or storyline generally that we got in this episode was with Roy. Um, Rebecca asks him to do a press conference, and he just shirks it off and gives it to
Yeah.
Beer.
doesn't.
and doesn't do it. And so then Rebecca kind of chews him out and tells him,
Oh,
like, you
yeah.
can't just run away from stuff when it gets difficult because, obviously she's kind of referring to his relationship with Keeley as well
Yeah.
in all of that. She's like, you are not in a good way right now and you need to cut it out.
Yeah.
And
Sort your
you need
life out, Roy.
yes,
Think about
exactly.
what you're doing. Stop it. When you're told to do something, do
Do
it.
it, even if it's hard, like, do it. Like, what is wrong with you? You're better
And
than this kind of
save
thing.
us from having an hour and a half press conference of Beard arguing with
Like,
people
who's the
about
best guitarist?
guitarists.
Yes. So that kind of lights a fire under his butt. So by the end of the episode, he does this press conference and they're asking him about Isaac's behavior, if they condone it.
Yeah.
And he gives this really great story about no, we don't condone Isaac's behavior, but I still have love for him because you never know what's going on in somebody's life. And he
Yeah.
tells a story about how he kind of made this really gross joke to somebody. The person ultimately beat the shit out of him, got kicked off the team, and then he had learned that that person suffered a really bad loss related to the joke that he had just flippantly
Yeah.
made.
I don't even
Um,
want to specifically mention that, Joey. It's a very,
yeah.
very dark
Yeah,
person.
exactly. So the
But
fact that he
it's a
shares
no.
this in context, without revealing anything, without giving too much context to what actually
Yeah.
went on with Isaac or, blowing, his business, putting his business out there. He really just makes this great point. Like, I don't with the team, nor I condone what he did, but I still love him because you
Yeah.
never know what people are going through. So you have to just take that into consideration when you are trying to judge what people do
Yeah.
and their actions. So,
And this is
he's
brought up
really
with the right of the fan again, isn't it? It's what
yeah.
is the right of the fan. The fan has no right to behave that way. The fan is a disgrace himself for
Mhm.
behaving that way because he's not thinking about the human being
Behind this
behind
player, this person that
the
he's
player.
watches yeah. So, yeah, the fact that, like, Roy didn't wanna do this thing, he runs away from things, but look how good he is at it. Look at these, poignant points that he can make when he
Yeah.
just steps up and does it. So, that kind of leads into what he's kind of dealing with or the revelation that he kind of comes to in the next episode.
Yes, well, let's get into that then, because I think it's my favourite part of the next episode, to be honest with you, Roy's whole story,
Yeah.
because he's celebrating Uncle's Day. Phoebe.
Yes. Yes, and I
Brilliant.
love that, we meet Roy's sister, and
Yeah,
she's listing off all of Phoebe's favorite days, and it's like Uncle's Day, it's Roy's birthday, um, like, just these random days that have to do with Roy, and then some, like, weird random holiday, I can't remember what she says
yeah, it's some
happens.
sort of demonic German holiday or something like that.
Yeah. Where, like,
Phoebe's in on it.
yeah, where, like, kids get tortured or scared or by some creepy entity or something. Um, and she invites Jamie over. She's like, "Well, I had to invite over your best friend." And they're just like, "We're not best friends." And she's like, "But you talk about him all the time and you spend every day together." And he's like, Jamie's like, "He talks about me all the time."
I
And
mean, they
then
do
James
spend every day together, and
yes.
they're secretly best friends. They don't want to accept it, but
No, but
they
they
actually
literally
are.
are.
And
And
Jamie gets him a really
really
lovely present.
thoughtful. Yes, he loves this gift. It's very thoughtful and personal, and Roy's just kinda quiet for a minute, and he's like, "I love it," kinda thing.
Yes.
And then Phoebe gives her gift, which is a ridiculous tie-dye t-shirt that she made, and she made it with red, orange, and yellow because those 3 colors spell Roy. Um And, he so he wears it, and everybody's just like, "The hell?" 'Cause, he
Yes.
just wears black all the time.
They
So
think
everyone's
something's happened.
yes, that he's wearing this shirt, and he can't take it, so he takes off the shirt and throws it on the ground and drives away, but then he ultimately goes back and picks it up and puts the shirt back on. And
He
then
can't he's constantly battling with his own self-image and his phenomenal love for his niece.
yes. Yes. Um, And, he does come across a bit of a revelation because the things that obviously Rebecca told him in the episode
Yeah.
prior, um, he, is dropping her off at school and he talks to that teacher that he normally talks to. And, she tells him that he seems lighter. He seems different, just emotionally than the last time she talked to him. And she kind of refers to him as a mess and, kind of questioning, like, how deeply that mess kind of affects him. And so it kind of clicks something in his brain, and he realizes that that's kind of what went wrong with Keeley, why he felt like
Yeah.
he couldn't be with her because he was just not in a good place for himself. It had nothing to do with her, that he was just kind of sinking into this really crappy place, and he didn't want to subject her to that. He wanted to protect her and save her from that. So he broke
Yeah.
things off. So he writes her this letter and he's dropping it off at her house, and she catches him and he ends it. She's like, looking at it like she's reading it, and then she's like, "I can't read your handwriting," and so he has to read it. And, yeah, he ultimately kind of says that to her, and he tells her
Yeah.
that he loves her, and he's gonna
Ke-
leave.
Keeley, I think, needs to hear this at the moment as well because
Oh,
she's
yeah.
gone through the ringer.
Yes, in the previous episode, I think the most we get with Keeley is that we just kind of see that Jack has been ghosting her,
Yes.
barely kind of talking to her, out of the country, and, kind of they had made a point to just be on a break, but then when I think Jack said she was gonna be gone in another country for months, she's like, "Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
we're officially broken up." So she goes into work and she sees everybody kind of like packing up their stuff and leaving, and she doesn't know what's going on. And Barbara tells her that, um, yeah, so Jack and the team have pulled their funding, so I'm sorry, you're gonna have to close. And
Yeah.
so yeah, she's really down. She's lost this thing that she, was so excited about, was working so hard for because of this whole kind of personal reason. So yeah, she's really kind of low. So when Roy tells her all of this and says, that she's amazing and that it had nothing to do with her and she's always going to be this kind of like badass woman and that he loves her. Like that's exactly I think what she needed to hear. So yeah, we reveal something in a very fun way cuz Roy walks away, but we see her kind of turn and then it like cuts away. So
Yes.
yeah, so we learn later Rebecca comes over after her whole kind of storyline, which is also, I think, a really great
Yes.
story in the
We'll
episode.
get into that.
And kind of is going over with her, going over with Keeley what happened with her. And then here comes Roy walking out the back, putting on her ridiculous pink robe. And Rebecca's like, okay, kind of
Yes.
thing. And
But
then
I think we're
ultimately,
all into it. We're all into this
Yes,
happening again.
Rebecca's very supportive, and she tells Rebecca that, she's lost her company and that whole kinda thing, and, um, Rebecca says, "Well, how much do you need? How much were they backing you?" And she's like, "It was a ridiculous amount, like, I couldn't ask you to do that." She's like, Tell me how much it is." And Keely's very cute and gets a Post-it and writes it down. She's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "That's how they do it in the movies." And Rebecca just, thinks it's super cute. I mean, I love this friendship so much.
Yes.
And she hands it to her and she's like, "I'm pretty sure I have that amount on me in cash right now." Like, it's fine. I will back you. So Rebecca, obviously believes in Keeley so much, so she offers
Yeah.
to back her business, so she's able to, keep it going. And Barbara ends up leaving, Jack's company to work with Keeley. So
Yeah, which is
yeah, I
all
like,
very nice. So
yeah.
by the
Considering
end
where they
of
started, I love kind of
yeah,
where it's going with her and Barbara kind of being friends, especially because 'cause they're so different, and Barbara just being kind of the way she is because she doesn't have friends, and Keely still trying to be her friend, that ends up
yeah,
meaning a lot to her. Yeah,
yeah, but we're in a very positive place with Keeley by the end of
yeah.
this second episode. I will put the title up. It's simply called International
International
Break,
break. Yeah.
episode 10 of season 3. But yeah, Keeley and Roy are back. This is what we wanted to happen in
Yeah.
this season anyway,
I mean, did
somehow.
you think it was
Might
gonna
way.
happen?
Did I think it was going to happen, or did I want it to happen so I couldn't fathom it not happening? Probably the latter.
Okay.
Rather than did I actually think it was going to happen? Maybe not. But I'm very, very glad it has. I even
Yeah.
thought there might be the odd little Jamie situation, and there was
Yeah, that little
the
moment.
somewhat kind of contentment
Yeah,
with the past, with Keeley's past with Jamie and
yeah,
that past relationship that has developed. I don't, they won't. They will hang out in group settings and be absolutely perfect with each other.
yeah,
Basically,
mhm,
it
yeah,
it, it won't ever be anything more, but it won't at all be vitriolic or anything like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So that's the best kind of breakup, I suppose, isn't it? It's like we're fine, we're not
yeah,
going to see each other really again, but
but we're
there'll
good. We're
obviously
good.
there'll be group situations, and we're good.
Well, just
Uh,
speaking of that, like, again, all of these episodes peppering in this interesting kind of dynamic between Sam and Rebecca, like
what is going on? Why are I would say why are they doing it half-heartedly? Are they doing it
exactly,
half-heartedly?
exactly. Because obviously I know where generally, because I haven't watched it in a while, so I don't 100% remember, but from my recollection, I don't know that, like, it really gives the time to go there. But all of these episodes, there's these little pepperings in of Rebecca feeling some type of way or them sharing glances in the hall. And they have this whole kind of
Yeah,
moment in the hallway where, you know, there's like slight little touches and giggling and kind of,
yeah.
yeah, this weird energy between the two of them. So I don't,
I mean,
I'm,
Sam and Rebecca have individual things going off in this episode, all down to one lunatic man who's back,
yes.
um, who, you know, as I've said in past episodes of Talking Ted Lasso as well, social media would have had me believe that Nate was the mustache twirling villain. And I should have known. I really, really should have known better as to not trust social media because
Yeah.
Nate's back to being a likable, if pitiful, human being.
Hmm.
And that's a great character, to be honest. Probably question mark the best all round character in Ted Lasso,
Okay.
given that his character definitely has the most
The biggest kind of,
range of
yes.
emotional things to
Yeah.
do.
Hmm.
He's possibly the most rounded character in the whole show. Um, Certainly goes through the most, I would say.
Yeah.
A lot of people go through a lot, sure, but maybe Nate goes through the most. So I should have known better in that way. Yes, Rupert is the devil and all that business, but
Yeah.
Edwin Akufu is mustache twirling. He is
Yes.
just gleefully evil, this man.
Yes, and holds a grudge and is petty as hell. So he comes into the picture because international break. They're all taking a break for the big international match that's going to be happening, and
Yes.
some of the Richmond players have been selected to play on the teams of their respective countries. And
Jamie's making his England debut. I think
yes,
Colin's playing for Wales. Dani's for Mexico.
Mexico.
Van Dam, Zoreaux, whatever you want to refer to him as.
Yeah.
He's keeper for
Playing for
Canada.
Canada, which ends up kind of creating this really funny dynamic because Canada is set to play Mexico, and
Yes.
Zorro's, like, trying to be cool with Dani, but no, Dani, in this moment, now that their teams are rivals, they're no longer teammates in his mind, he is just playing mind games with Van Damme and being so mean and cruel to him, and
It's
then
like
when the game's
right when it turns, it's like, okay, we're it's international break, and
yeah,
Ted basically announces it's international break now. Here is the list of the players. Bumbercatch playing for Switzerland as well.
yeah, mhm,
Um, and they're all a bit sad that Sam hasn't got the Nigeria call up as well, aren't they?
yes,
But
yeah,
that's down to Edwin Akufu
Ukufu, yeah.
bribing the Nigerian
Like
Football
$20
Association.
million dollars to not pick him.
Yes,
Yeah.
which I mean, the state of it's just silly, but that's what happens.
Yeah.
They're all really upset. But as soon as Ted's going, yep, and now we're all on international break, Dani might as well just be giving daggers to Zoreaux. He's
Yeah.
just like, right, evil. And
Yes,
Zoreaux's
you're
just
not
like,
mixing it.
oh yeah, see
Hey,
you on the
man.
plane, good. We'll have a good game next week.
Yeah.
It'll be great. Couple of days. You are no longer my friend. You are now the enemy. I hate you. I will break you.
Yeah.
I will destroy you. And he literally, in the Mexico Canada game, ends up breaking
It's
Zoreaux's
through his
nose with a shot.
Yes, and then as soon as it's done, he's like, "Hey, man, how's your nose?" Like, all nice again, you know?
Zoreaux's terrified of him now. He's like, get
"Oh
away
god."
from me. It's like, oh no,
Yeah,
we're
"We're
friends
friends
now.
again, it's fine."
Like,
Um,
Dani, you're a bit too intense in
yes,
everything you do.
exactly, so that was kind of a funny thing, but also just a really sweet tribute to Sam. Jamie wears his number. Um,
Yes.
yes, which was really kind of just a long way between those 2 characters as well, kind of making peace with each other. So that
Yeah.
was really nice. But yeah, everyone's kind of feeling bad for Sam for not getting chosen. And then Edwin actually like goes out of his way to deliver this news to Sam by reserving the whole restaurant and then canceling all of the bookings.
Yes.
And so he's at his restaurant and goes there and, like, reveals to him that this is what he did. He goes through all the voices he used when he was calling to make and cancel these reservations, and then proceeds to tell him that, yes, he paid $20,000,000 just so that Sam wouldn't get chosen.
Yes.
And
And with
yeah.
these ridiculous henchmen by the side of him who
Yes.
refuse to shake Sam's hand.
Yes. And, call him ugly and ridiculous and on all these kind of things, and Sam is just like, "Okay, whatever," kind of energy. So, Um, and then how Rebecca kinda gets roped into this as well. He is trying to start this big, like, mega league kinda thing.
Now,
So he's trying to get all of the, club heads, team owners to invest and create these super teams and charge more for tickets and kind of
yeah,
take the kind of homegrown aspect of football out of it and make it kind of this mega money operation.
yeah. Here is another thing that I love is included in Ted Lasso because this exact thing happened. This exact proposal wasn't
Yeah,
by, a Nigerian billionaire. It was by billionaire club owners of top clubs across Europe came together with a proposal for a super league, literally called it the European Super League. It's exactly what
yeah,
Edwin's doing here.
yeah,
The best clubs, the top clubs, play each other in one exclusive league all the time across the world. You know, Titan on Titan every
yeah.
single game.
Mhm.
The best, and the money would have been horrific. When I tell you the backlash this thing got was like nothing I've ever seen backlash get
Wow.
before. It was horrendous. You couldn't move for people saying disgrace, ruin,
Mhm.
no football is no more if this goes through,
Wow.
and they had to scrap the proposal. Like the force of people force these billionaire club owners. There was like 12 of them,
Oh my
something like that.
god.
It was
Very
it
much like this
was
episode. Ted Lasso does their research because
well, I mean, you couldn't avoid it.
No, yeah,
It's a
mhm,
football show, so
yeah,
I mean, it makes sense that they were going to do this. I
touch
just
on
really
something like this.
appreciate that they would
Yeah.
put something like this in there because Rebecca's whole speech in this boardroom setting is exactly what the 99.9% of the population was saying. How dare you take this from everybody? How dare you price people out? How dare you think that it should just be a boys' club of the best all the time and never
Just to
give
make
anybody
money.
else a
Yeah.
chance? just to make money. You're a disgrace. You are a disgrace to think that. And it's a wonderful speech that Rebecca gives, but this genuinely did happen. I think it was headed by the president of Real Madrid, Florentino Perez, who is admittedly still trying to do something of that nature.
Yeah, not
but
surprising.
I don't see it being a thing. I think the next stage of pricing fans, because billionaire owner, you do get priced out. You know, fans do get priced out of top clubs and all that sort of stuff. It does happen. It's just how far it gets, and nobody ever wants. I mean, nobody wants to get priced out, do they? Obviously, but certainly nobody ever wants a Super League.
Yeah.
Because the beauty of football is its pyramid. It's relegation and promotion, and the fact that you can have your Manchester United, your Liverpools, your Arsenals playing, Stevenage from the 5th tier, and or Boreham Wood from the 6th tier, or something like that.
Yeah.
You can have that in a Super League.
Yeah, it would just be this kind of elitist kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just a very, very terrible idea. But I forget my point now because I was just despairing about the Super League.
No, again, you're giving us actual real world kind of connections to what.
Yes,
they
but
did
what was my point in relation to it all?
And just that those things happen. That this actually what they're doing in this episode is a real thing that actually was talked about to happen. So, or
oh no, that was my point. What will likely happen? Unfortunately, at some point in the next few years, we will see. To be fair, they do this in American sports as well. Baseball does it. The NFL does it. I think basketball even does it now. The NBA does it now. Is have regular season games played across the world rather than just a select few that aren't actually in the home. Whether they'll be able to do that in England, I don't know, because we're very precious over sort of stuff here.
Yeah.
They're probably more likely to be able to do it in Spain and Italy, I would imagine. Italy, perhaps especially because of attendance records in Italy, because Italian football has such a good TV sort of deal, basically. I think every Serie A top tier in Italy game is just available for everybody to watch with this one thing that you can buy. That's apparently not that expensive, which is an issue for Italian football because stadium attendance
is down because people
really quite down because people
can just watch it.
Everything.
Yeah.
In England, we have this thing of a Saturday 3:00 blackout, where Saturday at 3:00 is the traditional kickoff time. Years ago, it was the only ever kickoff time. Everybody would kick off their games at Saturday at 3:00.
Oh.
In the sort of early 90s, when Sky got involved in the Premier League and the Premier League became Premier League as opposed to Division 1, it started to change. But every league game will be Saturday at 3:00. Now you have Friday night, Monday night, Wednesday 7, Thursday, Saturday at 12.
All different times and days.
4 on the Sunday, going from 12:30, 2:30, 4:00, 7:00, and just to get all the TV in, and it's all terrible. But for the games that kick off on Saturday at 3:00, you still can't watch any on television.
Oh.
You can watch no 3:00 Saturday games on television. And there's been talk about getting rid of that, and people aren't happy about it.
Ooh, I can imagine.
People aren't happy about being able to watch games on Saturday at 3:00. Some people are. Some people want it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't. A lot of people are like, "Oh, hold on. No, you should go to games.
Yeah.
If you wanna go to games,
I
go to
would
games."
imagine if you have the
Well,
ability
then
to
there's the
go, that
argument
would
well,
be
then there's
much
the
more fun.
argument against being priced out of games.
That's true.
It's a very complex thing. It's a
Yeah.
very, very complex thing.
I never thought about that. That's a great
Forgive my
point.
tangential
No, no, we
answers.
appreciate real world football information on this show. But yeah, like I think this is a really interesting topic to have in this episode, especially with Rebecca. And kind of we focus a little bit also on her being a woman in this whole male dominated kind of space because she
Oh,
was not
yes.
going to go to this meeting. She was kind of ignoring it. And then Rupert came, to her office and tried to convince her to go. um, and I love how she's kind of been able to navigate handling him, because we saw kind of
Yeah,
earlier on when he would know how to push her buttons, and I think maybe it kind of started since after her father's funeral, and her mom kind of told her, how she deals with Rupert, and that kind of building into how she decided how she's gonna handle him. And so she's been much more able to stand up to him, kinda go toe to toe with him, throw things in his face that really kind of stun him because he's not expecting it. And so it's a really interesting dynamic we see with her and Rupert in this episode. So he kind of comes there, tries to antagonize her, but ultimately kind of, convinces her to go to this meeting as, you could be there representing for, as a woman boss in this industry,
yeah,
you don't have to agree, but maybe just go down there and see what he has to say kind of thing. So she decides to go down there. We get to see her do her kind of courage boost that she talked about, where she kind of
yeah,
makes herself really big. And we kind of see her reflection as a little girl. Her, even when she's kind of giving the speech, she kind of looks to the table of these men and they're all little boys, which I love as well. In her POV. But ultimately, yeah, she gives this great speech about not taking football away from the people. And
yeah,
you have so much money. Why do you need more? Like, what is it going to do for you? And they ultimately all agree with her. When it is revealed, we see Edwin storming out of the room, and then when we kind of pan back, everyone's covered in food. So we're to assume that he had this big temper tantrum and threw food everywhere at everyone. And everyone's kind of all annoyed, but then Rupert and Rebecca look at each other and they just start laughing. Because even when she's
yeah,
giving the speech, she tells a story about Rupert, like the story where Rupert kind of did a cool thing. And you
yeah.
really kind of are
Not stuck into a
surprised.
game
Yeah.
out of pure
And she's
passion and things like that.
yes, and who he used to be. And so it's really interesting for her to kind of shine this different light on him, and then to even see them kind of laugh together when everyone else is kind of like, what just happened, and they just look at each other covered in food and kind of laugh, and they're having
Yeah,
this really kind of great moment and related dynamic that they kind of think alike, and find the same thing funny. And when she kind of tells this really great story about him kind of being a good person, and then it all kind of leads to him leaning in to kiss her and her backing away like, "Oh,
yeah.
no, this is not gonna happen."
It's not that.
Um,
This is not that.
yeah, and the fact that he thinks that, but the fact that where they were, where they started, where she started with him, that she's the one backing away from a kiss from him,
Yeah,
like, has to be so incredibly validating for Rebecca, which
yeah,
I love. So she, of course, goes and tells Keeley, and it's super, like, exciting when she tells him, like, this is what happened. Like, she's like, "That is huge," and Rebecca's like, "I know." So,
yeah.
yeah, it
And
was really interesting to see her
she ends
dynamic with
the
Rupert
episode it was, yeah, she ends the episode telling Ted that she no longer cares about
beating Rupert. It's
beating
not about
Rupert.
that for anymore. She wants them to win for them, for the team, for him, for her, for their kind of family that they've built there. That's why she
And
wants
that's
to
what
win.
yeah, and that's what she's been struggling with,
Yeah.
the most, so it's lovely to see that
Mhm.
from
Yeah.
Rebecca. The last bit we have to get onto in this episode is Nate and his father, I think, as well.
Yes. Yeah, so the
It's
news is kind of
but
out there that he's no longer with them and,
West
with West
Ham.
Ham, and everyone's kind of speculating what happened there. And then we learn that he quit. After the Rupert thing, he just
Yeah.
quit, but he's like, now he doesn't know what to do with himself. He doesn't have a job. He's kind of confused. And then Jade's going off to Poland for a few days. So he's kind of just stuck and doesn't know what to do. So he ultimately kind of just goes home to his parents and stays there. And he kind of just locks himself in his room, and his mom brings him trays of food. And he's
Yes.
just
His
feeling
mum's
kind of
perfectly
lost.
content with this as well.
Yes. And of course, his mom's happy to take care of him. And then he kind of just finds himself wandering around the house looking at old baby pictures and things.
Yeah.
And then he finds his old violin. And so he pulls it out and he's playing, and he's actually like pretty good. We see him doing and like
Yeah.
I watched, as somebody who played the violin all through sixth
Ah,
grade
here
through
we
high
go.
school. I watched people play the violin. Like, I wasn't, the greatest violin player, but I was decent. And so, like, I watched people's hand placement, like, how they hold their
Mm,
hands, how they do their vibrato, and a lot of people do a terrible job, like, pretending to play, but he was actually doing the real vibrato and everything, so
okay.
I was very impressed. So he had to maybe played a little bit
That's
in
all
order.
that's all this sort of thing with your
Yes,
hand and
because I see
in
when
that.
people, like, hold it in movies, like, this is how you're supposed to hold the violin, like,
Yeah.
this is your bow and this is you holding
Yeah.
the neck, like, your hand has to be like this, but you see movies where people are holding it like that,
Mm,
and I'm like, "No, you don't know what you're doing," but even doing the vibrato, like, that is like,
okay.
"Okay, okay, you're doing something
Okay,
real
Nick.
here." Yes. And we get this kind of breakthrough with his father. He's playing and his father kind of walks in. It's just so funny because it's like this really poignant moment. And then he turns and his father's right there. He gets like scared and starts cursing. Um, and his father kind of tells him, I'm sorry, like I never encouraged you. I didn't know how to raise a child who was a genius. Like I just didn't know how to handle it. So my course of action was just to humble you. But I've always been
Yeah.
proud of you. And all I've ever wanted was for you to be happy. And he even like wells up with tears. And
Mm,
so it's really interesting to see that from his dad, who's kind of been devaluing him the whole time we've seen their interactions.
yeah.
And
I
then we
mean,
end
Nick
up
justifiably argues back as
yeah.
well, I think, at this
Mhm.
point. It's like, "Well, how do you think that made me feel?
Yeah.
How do you think that made me feel? That wasn't, that wasn't good. It's not this easy, 'It's okay, dad, I forgive you' moment, and
Yeah.
it shouldn't be. It should be this
Hard
anger,
conversation,
to
this
be honest.
honesty. Yeah. Yeah. So
So
they kind of
I
have
give
a
it
bit of a
credit
breakthrough.
for sticking to that, because you are right, they do have a breakthrough, and we see them that night, I think, playing a nice game
Playing
of cards
cards.
all as a
Yeah.
family, and perhaps this you would like to think this leads to a softer relationship for the two
Mhm.
of them, because he's always had a pleasant relationship with his mother,
Yeah.
um, but you would like to think this leads to a softer relationship for him and his dad,
Yeah.
because, his dad's getting on in years to a degree. I
Yeah.
think, I mean, his dad will be in his 60s, you would imagine, something like that. So
Yeah. So, take this time
you don't want too much
to hold these
harshness.
grudges. Yeah, and if he's
Yeah,
being
it's
honest
like
finally
right.
about why he's treated you the way he's treated you, and you're kind of at least, he's taking the time to give you some insight. So it's
Yeah,
not coming from nowhere. It's not inherently anything you did because maybe that's what he felt this whole time. And, I think that plays into, his father knowing he was a genius, but because he humbled him so much, he didn't realize he was a genius until, Ted encouraged him and all of these things. And then once he realized he was a genius, he put it in his head that he was undervalued, that you know, he needed some degree of humbling,
yeah,
clearly, because
yeah,
once he realized that he was actually a genius, his ego kind of took over. and ran amok.
Just you
So
need to find the balance, and they never did.
exactly, and they never did. So, Ted was all in encouraging, his father was not at all encouraging. So, we got these very kind of mixed messages that muddled him all up. So I like that we're getting kind of this really deep down insight into him so that we are not hating him by the end of this
Yeah,
series. Um
not at all.
yeah. So really interesting character stuff. I think it doesn't feel rushed. I think we're
No.
organically, tying up, getting on the road to maybe tying up stories with characters, addressing things that they've kind of been struggling through for a few episodes, and it
Mm,
doesn't feel rushed. We're giving them enough time to breathe and develop and have their arcs and kind of bloom, and it feels like it makes sense. It doesn't feel like we're kind of hurrying through it. So yeah, these were two really great character episodes that really developed some things, brought up some, of course, thoughtful, emotional points that this show is so good at, giving these great messages and also really touching on real world kind of football
yeah,
situations that probably maybe aren't really talked about, and putting a light on those things as well. So yeah, two solid great
definitely.
episodes, and we're coming to a close here. So
Yes.
I hope you've enjoyed this journey so far, and I
Oh, absolutely.
and
I mean, I'm fascinated to see how the season ends. I seem to discover that they will be playing Manchester City in the next episode, which obviously will always be the case, and there's quite a significant Jamie storyline
yeah.
going to be taking place, which again I think will be uh, a really great one. To
Mhm.
be honest, a fascinating one because of how Jamie's arc has gone over the course
Yeah.
of 3
Mhm.
seasons. Um, and our finale, I assume as well, this is when we get our Guardiola cameo that you've been telling me we have. City's manager. I assume
Oh, yeah.
we get him in the next episode. But yeah, very interesting to see how the season ends. Obviously, next time out will be our final episode for the time
Yeah.
being of Talking Ted Lasso. So as we said before, do subscribe and ding your notification bell on this YouTube channel. We alternate here on Morgan Hasn't Seen TV at the moment, with discovering Dawson's Creek, of course, which certainly
Yes.
is not going anywhere for the foreseeable future, for the long-term future, to be
Yeah, I
honest
think we
with
have
you. It
3
takes
more
ages to
seasons.
watch.
We got 3
Yes,
more seasons. So,
it takes ages to watch Dawson's Creek.
yes,
But
3, like, 20 odd episode
yes,
seasons.
we enjoy it
Yeah.
a great deal anyway. But of course, things have been scrolling down at the bottom of the screen, all episode long as well. Do subscribe to the main podcast feed. It's a wonderful podcast wherever you do listen to your podcasts. Patreon links, donation links, social media, merch, all the fun stuff is in the description of this episode, which leaves us, Janine, with only one thing left to do. And I think, who should we
Oh
have
god.
today? I wonder. I don't know. Whoever you want. Just make it a nice character impression from Ted Lasso. Do a Ted. I mean, I can't remember the last time you did a Ted
Oh
impression.
my, I can't do a good Ted.
It's just very, very
I feel like if I try to do Ted, it's gonna come out
stereotypical.
like Goofy.
Is Goofy from Kansas? Is Ted
Maybe.
from Kansas? Ted is
Yes,
from
Ted is
Kansas.
from Kansas. 3, 2, 1. I love you, Uncle Roy.
Wow, I thought that was Keeley for a minute, and then I realised it's Phoebe. Okay. Bye.